Hello Taurus friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my March 2020 horoscope report for you. In this video we're going to talk about what's going on in the stars this month, what those effects are likely to be for Taurus, and we're also going to talk about some important dates to note and Saturn moving into Aquarius and what that means for you. Saturn moving into Aquarius takes on special significance for Taurus because of the angle that this movement makes in your chart. So we're going to get into all of those details. The first thing I want to happily report to you is once again this month we do have more nice aspects than salty ones. That doesn't always completely translate down into our individual experience, but it often does, as it is showing a mood in the sky. Okay, so there are sweet aspects in the sky, and all of those sweet aspects pretty much, or the predominance of those sweet aspects, are also a nice aspect to your placement because they are in earth and water. So the planets, the personal planets, which are the ones closest to us, are the ones that we track monthly in horoscopes. You know, it's very rare that an outer planet does something notable of changing signs or changing houses, although that is also happening this month, which is why we're going to talk about it. But what we track month to month that changes is those planets that are closest to us. Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, you know, Venus, Mars. So those planets this month are predominantly moving through earth and water. We've got Venus, which rules love, beauty, and money, going to make sweet aspects to your placement. We've got Mars continuing to move through Capricorn. Mars rules action and movement, and that is also going to make sweet aspects with your placements. We've got Mercury moving through Pisces, which is also making sweet aspects to your placement. We've got a little bobble back into Aquarius, which might have a little bit of awkwardness, and we do still have the retrograde energy covering this month, but I'll get to that in a minute. So what that means is blessings from the past or challenges from the past, things from the past coming up to be dealt with or to be brought back to life, brought back to focus. But the predominance of the Mercury transit is in an aspect that's sweet for you. So that's more sweetness. And then the Sun is moving through Pisces for most of the month, and that is making a sweet aspect for you. Okay, so in general, lots of extra positive things for Taurus placements. The next thing I want to talk about are these important dates to note. When there is a personal planet, which is retrograde, and Mercury, Venus, and Mars are the personal planets that go retrograde, it brings the energy inward and backward. And that is still predominating this month because Mercury went retrograde February 17th. It's direct around March 9th, depending on your time zone. But there's a post-transit period where it's kind of getting back to itself. So like I liken this to a U-turn, where planet going direct is going straight, you're driving. When you're slowing down to make a U-turn, that's the like awkwardness of the days before the retrograde, and then while you're getting situated, you know, you're going retrograde, and then when you have to go back into the highway on the other side, you know, that's the period afterwards. So like similar to how it takes you a little bit to get back up to speed once you get back into the lane of the highway, going the opposite direction, that's what this retrograde's like. So just imagine from March 9th through March 30th, Mercury and communication and, you know, vehicles and moving and plans are all kind of getting back up to speed. There might be a lot of plan changes, and there might be contractual things that come up to be addressed. There will likely be more clarity towards the end of the month, which brings us to this first series of dates to note. In this year of 2020, the predominance of energy is actually in personal planet retrograde. So Mercury will go retrograde 3 times, which is common. Venus will go retrograde once, which doesn't happen every year. And Mars will go retrograde once, and that doesn't happen every year. But it's all happening this year. So again, this like the tides are going in, which can bring great things to you that you've worked on. You know, a lot. You can just be, I call it like the weaving having woven your web, and then the retrogrades can bring the food to you. You know, it's more of a year to let things come to you than it is to try to force things out. But if you do have to launch something, have clarity for contracts, make big decisions, you're likely to have more clarity towards the end of March. Lots of sweet aspects towards the end there. And between March 30th and April 9th, it's the last period of time for all of 2020 that's completely clear of personal planet retrogrades and their pre and post shadow periods. April 10th starts the pre-shadow transit for Venus. Okay, so I've got a ton of resources for you if you just search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde to get you up to speed on the things to avoid, the things to know, so that you can, you know, use this open window to try to move as many things forward as possible, so that when the retrograde energies take over, then you know then you've already done what you have to do. The next date to note is March 21st. There's been a little confusion in my reports about this month because the planner that I used made an error and they said March 19th. But when I looked it up in the ephemeris, which is the law, you know, that's where we get all these dates from, the new astrological new year actually starts March 21st. Okay, so that's the time that the sun goes into Aries, and that starts a brand new cycle and, you know, new beginnings and fresh new energy and zest. The time with between February and March, even though March is really great for Taurus energies, it is still very much heavy in emotion. Whereas towards the end of the month, we move into motion. Okay, so this like break from like emotion into motion is like the transition through the month of March. Okay, so just keep in mind that theme of emotion for the month of March, things coming back from the past to be dealt with for better or worse, things coming from the past, like blessings from the past, and more clarity moving forward and more of like a push to be able to get things out, to launch, to make big decisions towards the end of the month. Another date to note is March 24th, and that is the new moon in Aries. And when that occurs, it's like the kickoff party for the astrological new year. It's one of the best times of the year to do a vision board. If you're not familiar with vision boards, they're amazing manifestation tools where you use either clips of pictures online, there are online venues you can use, or you clip out magazines, you know, pictures from magazines that carry the essence or the exact thing that you want. So if you want the essence of more love in your life or more relaxation, you can clip out things that feel relaxing and then keep that vision board up so it's constantly speaking to your subconscious mind, because we create from our subconscious mind. So when you have things around you that are suggesting the things that you want to create, your subconscious mind gets the message, hey, okay, you want more of that? Okay, so let's do that. So vision boards can be very powerful, and there are certain astrological power periods throughout the year where the universe is more receptive to these types of things, and the new moon in Aries is one of those times. So mark that March 24th or whenever the new moon in Aries is for you, because in different time zones it will shift by a day or so sometimes. Okay, so the third thing that I want to talk about has to do with Saturn moving into Aquarius, and this is a really big deal. So there are a lot of things to know about this. The first thing to know is that Saturn moves into Aquarius, but it only goes a couple of degrees into the sign and then goes retrograde. So just between March and June, it's lingering around in Aquarius, and then it goes back into Capricorn. The placement in Capricorn still is bringing sweet aspects for you, especially, and this can be true for any Taurus placement, but especially those of you towards the end of the sign, you're going to be getting more coverage of the exact trine that Saturn moving back into Capricorn has from June until the end of the year, which is when it will go back in Aquarius. So it is important to note that even though, yes, it's moving into this new sign, it's not staying there for long once it gets there, and it's not really getting to groove into Aquarius until 2021. So between 2021 and 2023, Tauruses are going to have major life changes because of the aspects that Saturn is making in its movement. Those of you early in the sign, the earliest ones, you're likely to have this, and so we'll say April-born Tauruses, you're likely to see the changes starting to whisper this year, whereas the rest of you are likely to not have those changes until between 2021 and 2022. So what are the changes? Okay, so Saturn is going to move into your 10th house, and that makes a 90-degree angle with your sign. It's at your midheaven. So changes to work, changes to your job, changes and things notable with your dad and father figures. We've had a lot of that lately because of all the energies in Capricorn, and Capricorn rules the 10th house, but this is extra focused into the Taurus realm. A lot of people will see accomplishment, recognition, and major manifestation in work sector or career. For those of you who are retired or for whom you don't need to make money, or for, you know, that career isn't meaningful, this can still have to do with you finding your life purpose and finding your way and your place out in the world. Whether it's for money or not isn't the point. So that's likely to happen. And again, the earlier placements, you're going to feel this sooner and likely this year. The rest of you, while you may have some changes in those arenas, from this aspect, it's not going to hit you until 2021 to 2023. It's also likely to bring changes at home, because that angle at the 10th house cusp, which is the midheaven, casts a 180-degree angle down to the 4th house cusp, which has to do with your home and family. So an example that I see very commonly with this is that a work opportunity opens up, but it requires a move, and that affects your home and family, or your actual house or housing. You know, more work, so that affects your home and family. Or it could just be that your work is kind of needing a lot of attention and your home is needing attention, which pulls you in two different directions. But there's, very significant changes. These are cusps in the chart, major cusps in the chart, and they come with crossroads. So this period of time when Saturn moves into Aquarius is a crossroads time for Taurus. So that's either coming soon or coming later. And sensitive people may notice it coming even before it happens. There's also the chance for hardship or difficulty within your work. And I've seen many a person be at the top of their game and decide they don't want to do that work anymore. So sometimes Saturn brings drastic changes within the work spectrum with simultaneous accomplishment. Kind of like someone is, stepping into this new era and then they're like, oh, okay, I'm in this era now, I want to step down. Or they start doing something else, work-related or life purpose-related, while they're also experiencing recognition and outcomes. If there's anything within your work sector that you've been unsure about, Saturn is very likely to bring in tests. Okay, Saturn tests things. And it puts pressure on that area of your life to see if it's sustainable for long-term growth. So you'll have tests to your work and also possibly tests to the home and family, as it will be in opposition there. Now, for all Taurus placements, you're still going to have Saturn in the 9th house, okay? So we talked about how those of you in the beginning of the sign, you're going to start to feel the whispers of the 10th house. And for you all in the beginning, 0 to 9 degrees or so, but especially we'll say 0 to 5 degrees, because since it's only lingering around up to 1 degree, it's really just that cluster of you in the first week of the sign that's most going to be affected by Saturn actually in the 10th house. But for those of you, it will be in the 9th and 10th house at the same time. For everybody else, all other Taurus placements, you're actually going to still have the energy of Saturn in the 9th house, which is where it's been for years. So it's a devil you're familiar with. It's like any of the hardships or difficulties that's come from Saturn moving through your 9th house, you've already been doing that. And now could be the time where you actually get to resolution. Saturn brings tests, Saturn can bring heaviness, hardship, because Saturn wants you to work and have discipline. And when you're not working or having discipline, Saturn will make it harder for you. So the 9th house and Saturn may have to do with you working hard to get an education so that you can advance your career. Many people will experience and have been experiencing Saturn in this place where you're learning or increasing your craft or learning a new craft that you want to take out to the professional arena. Some of you may just be studying, and again, it's more just for life purpose or something like that, but it carries the energy of study, like hard work, perseverance, working through things. Focus. Some people may have had a dark night of the soul while Saturn's been moving through the 9th house, and there may be some more of that energy still in 2020. Because this energy of heaviness in your sector of optimism and your belief systems sometimes means that the things you believe are being tested. So if you've been feeling your belief systems, your religion, or your spiritual views, or your life views, or your philosophical views being tested, is probably because Saturn is here doing that. And what it wants to do, again, as I mentioned before, is to shore up your long-term picture by putting tests to what you think you know, so that you can straighten out or strengthen the things that are shoddy, and in some cases make those stronger, or throw them out altogether and start again with something new. So if you're a person who likes to travel internationally, or if you've been writing a book, this also could be a way that this manifests, is that writing a book or getting ready to teach something, or launch your teaching career, or change your teaching career. This Saturn in the 9th house for the rest of this year and for previous years could mean that you're finishing up your book, finishing up your curriculum, finishing up moving into public speaking, or stepping into something like that. This can also have to do with hard work involving your church or spiritual organization. So just always remember, we take the layers and we blend them together. So Saturn is hard work, okay? So Saturn in the 9th house means hard work in those areas, and tests, and sometimes manifestation. So you might have seen a book come out. Your teaching could have started from this transit already, or something notable involving international travel. If you've been trying to travel internationally and it's not working out, then when Saturn does leave that house, it might loosen that up for you. Saturn always brings gifts from the house that it leaves, but since none of you are going to really have Taurus completely leaving until at least 2020, you may still be having to wait a little bit for the gifts that you get from the hard work that you're putting in, okay? So this transit of Saturn through Aquarius also puts a 90-degree pressure on your Taurus placement. So between now and March 2023, you might feel the pressure of your identity and what you're putting out in the world. You can kind of see how this relates to your work. So you might be in a process of figuring out what you want to do, figuring out what you're supposed to do, figuring out what you came here to do, and then doing the work in order to make that gel or manifest. So that could be the storyline over the next few years that is occurring. And if that's already been happening, then it could mean a different layer of it or different layers of accomplishment that come from the work you've already done. Okay, so for the most part, I love this month for Taurus. You know, we've got a little bit of pressure there from Saturn moving into Aquarius, but like I said, it's mainly for those of you right at the beginning of the sign. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Pressure, you know, we worry about pressure. We say, oh gosh, when there's this bad aspect, or we call a bad aspect because it makes this pressure angle. Sometimes we need the pressure in order to make the diamond. And Saturn is the diamond maker. You know, it just compacts Earth into a beautiful diamond. And so you may have that happening. But because of all the beautiful aspects from Capricorn and the movements and effects for Taurus, then it's just a lot of sweet benevolence, beautiful things coming from the past, and this nice open window, the last of its kind for 2020, that is free from personal planet retrogrades. So towards the end of the month, you'll have a lot of oomph for moving forward. If you had been bogged down in emotion, it will switch over to emotion. If you'd like to have more information on how you can use the current transits to help you, you can sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up of the month with the sweet dates, the salty dates, the aspects of those dates, what to expect from those, a general write-up for the month, and I deliver that to your inbox 1 month early so you have it for your planning purposes. I also have my Mercury retrograde guide that is added to my newsletters now as we're in this Mercury retrograde cycle. There's also a retrograde playlist on my channel, Annie Botticelli, that you can be prepping for the retrogrades for the year and kind of get your plan together. I have the dates of all the shadow periods and all of the retrogrades in the newsletter as well, all compact in one place. If you'd like to learn astrology, either to be a professional astrologer or just for your own purposes because you love astrology and you want to use it more for self-development, definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com or beastropro.com, or you can see my school, Lume Life, Lume life.com. All of these links are also in the notes underneath the video if you click on See More under the video. And I've got an amazingly comprehensive course that will help you to go from ground zero to being a professional astrologer or doing whatever you want with astrology. It's a wonderland of astrological learning. If you want written horoscopes by me, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. I also have blogs about yoga for the sun moving through the signs, how to maximize the sun moving through the signs, herbal tea blends for the sun moving through the signs, and it's a wonderland. Again, I just love to create these nests for finding information for you, and you can see that at cozybysweetstarlight.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.